Vous êtes sur Tropical DJ, Tropical DJ, Tropical DJ, Tropical DJ, Tropical DJ.
Salut, c'est Jim Rama sur Tropical DJ. Mes amis, oh, aïe aïe aïe, Tropical DJ. Mes amis, oh, aïe aïe aïe, ça vient gérer. Mes amis, oh, aïe aïe aïe, Tropical DJ. Mes amis, oh, aïe aïe aïe, ça vient gérer.
Vous écoutez Bobby X et Will sur Tropical DJ. Si vous nous rejoignez pour la première fois, vous écoutez Bobby X et Will, une émission culturelle tous les vendredis à partir de 20h sur Tropical DJ. Alors merci de nous rejoindre pour cette deuxième partie de l'émission. Tonight we have with us Dr. Christopher McVoy. We're discussing climate change, and if you want to join us by phone, the number is 561-635-9915, 561-635-9915, or you can call us at 561-685-4101 for all your questions. All right, Dr. McVoy, we're going to continue with some question, and I have a question from Bobby, who is here, but we know Bobby has a voice problem tonight, so I'm going to ask his question. What is, for people that are asking, what is the difference between climate change and global warming?
That's a great question, and basically they're very related, but global warming is a single piece of the issue. Climate change, and another word that people sometimes use that's perhaps even more accurate, is climate disruption.
Yeah.
Focuses on the idea that what we're doing is not only shifting the average temperature, but it's changing patterns in sometimes predictable ways, but in a lot of things unpredictable ways, and hence the idea of disruption. Many people have heard about hurricanes and the idea that as we change temperatures and as we disrupt patterns of water circulation, we may actually be increasing not only the frequency of hurricanes, but the intensity of hurricanes. So that's obviously not just temperature changes, but changes in weather patterns. And similarly, less dramatically, changes in precipitation are a big deal. Changes in frequency of droughts, or as we talked about earlier in the program, changes in frequencies of wildfires or areas that are subjected to wildfires. All these things are part of that broader picture of climate disruption. And sea level rise fits into that as one of the effects of the temperature part of it, but it's just a part of the picture.
Okay. Some people ask, well, if you're talking about global warming, and why do we have like those colds, cold front keep coming, a lot of snow somewhere? Because I remember there was a senator that went into Congress and took some make a snowball and say, hey, here, for those that saying there is climate change, there's global warming, here is a proof there is no such thing because he has snow. What do you say about that?
That's why he's in Congress and not at a university in a science department. But no disrespect, of course. But scientists know and spend a lot of time thinking very carefully about statistics and about large quantities of data, because they know that any time you look at any natural phenomena, there's noise, there's random variation. And if you're trying to see a trend in something, what you have to be able to do is see how the average is changing over time through that noise. And in addition, you can have situations, and that's part of the climate disruption. Not only can you shift the average over time, so you have a trend, it's trending warmer, it's trending colder, whatever, but you may also increase the variance. So where you might, in a particular location, it might have been the average rainfall was 50 inches and it varied plus or minus 10 inches. Well, you could shift that to where the average goes down, let's say it goes to 40 inches a year, but the variance goes up, and now it's 40 inches plus or minus 30 inches. So one year you might only have 10 inches of rain, the next year you might have 70 inches. That's all part of the picture. So it's very difficult, and most good climate scientists will be very slow to say, hey, this year was very hot or that year was very cold. Oh, clearly that's climate change, because individual events are hard to track onto that. But What you can look at is those of you who have got a smartphone and have Weather Underground or some of the other weather applications on it, you'll see that you'll get alerts that says hottest temperature record set in Miami.
Yeah,
Hottest
we keep having those records like very frequently these days.
I have a whole collection of them on
Yeah.
my computer because I take pictures of them and stack them away. And that's not important, but what's important is when you know that 2014 was the hottest year on
On record, yeah.
over 100 years of keeping records, except for 2015, which was the hottest year after 2014. It was even hotter than that. When you start seeing information patterns like that, then you start seeing, boy, things are going on. And as for me, as I mentioned earlier in the program, the temperature record is the most direct thing, but actually biology and ecology, how organisms interact together, is even more sensitive to it. So when you look at things like when plants bloom or when certain birds arrive in a cold climate or a warm climate, you know, they usually get their robins, for instance, get there at a certain time in the spring. When you watch that over years and it's been moving measurably, those are things that tell you, wow, we have some significant changes happening here.
Another question from Bobby X. What are the impacts of climate change on human health?
That's an interesting one that I didn't hear about for a long time, but I've been to some conferences where people ask, and there's a whole group, especially in the field of public health, where they're starting to look at the potential impact. Some of them are clear, and you know, you might not think of them, but when you do, you say, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that, it's a good one. Miami Beach, when the roads are flooded, what do you do when somebody needs an ambulance and the ambulance can't get through? Well, that's clearly a fact.
Yeah.
What about stress? When people feel more stressed about these changes? What about things like simply temperature? A few years back, we had a heat wave in Europe that actually a lot of people died in that heat wave. Same thing has happened in Chicago. And heat waves are particularly a problem in urban areas because urban areas have heat island effects. They're more susceptible to that. As things warm, you need more energy to create air conditioning. Most of that energy, unless it's renewable, is coming from fossil fuels, which is in turn making it warmer. So you've got bad cycles set up there. Everything points in the direction we need to be doing everything possible as soon as possible to keep fossil fuels that are in the ground, leave them in the ground. Don't dig up coal, don't dig up oil, don't pump natural gas. Leave that stuff where it's not causing a problem in the ground and go full speed ahead on alternative forms of energy and energy conservation, but especially generation in renewable ways. Solar is an obvious, wind is an obvious, tidal is happening quite a bit. All things that don't have a global warming, climate disruption impact.
Now, will history be unkind to our generation if we do nothing about global warming and keep that trend going the way it's going?
I think that's a very important question because that's in my mind a religious or a philosophical or a moral question that says, what is the equity between one generation and the next generation or two generations? Do we owe them anything?
Yeah.
And I think we do. To the extent that we have the information, that we know we are aiming the train down the tracks and there's somebody on the tracks,